Since we started our business, we've tried over 50 different tools to help us increase our productivity. Today, we're gonna go over the top 28 that really have stuck with us and that we still use today. So basically, our journey of task tracking tools and tools in general started with our whiteboard. We have a huge whiteboard on one of our walls in our bedroom, and it's kind of a story with how we got that.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris and Paolo, who are the OGs of the whiteboard inspiration.
Yeah, basically what happened is we went to Home Depot. We were so excited to get this new whiteboard, and it was just huge. I have a really kind of normal sized car, and we tried to fit the whiteboard in one piece through the trunk, and
it didn't quite fit.
Yeah.
So luckily Home Depot gives you like 2 free cuts.
Yeah.
And we just basically took the board back in and they cut it lengthwise and we fit that into the car. It's like, how big is that board?
Oh gosh, it's gotta be like 8 feet plus.
8 feet, I think that's right.
Long,
like 4
and then
feet
like 4
by 8
feet
feet
tall. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty large, but I would say that that was one of our first forays into like task tracking and productivity.
Yeah, and when we tried to install it actually in the house, we took measurements.
Yeah.
But we took measurements for the wall that we thought we were gonna put the board on, and for some reason we forgot to use those measurements. So when we were putting it on the original wall, we realized that it was too big.
Yeah,
so then we had to rearrange the other wall that was bigger, and that was a whole other mess. But we got through it. It was our first kind of like entrepreneur journey moments.
Yeah, totally. And that kind of was the first thing that dipped our toes into actually like tracking our productivity, tracking what we were doing. And we actually used the whiteboard for a little while. But because our team is remote, it's not very easy to track what they're doing alongside us if, our whiteboard is hanging in our office. So from there, we went actually and tried out Monday and ClickUp. We don't use those anymore, but those were our first kind of looks into an online tracker productivity tool. And they're great tools, they just didn't work for us. What we ended up going on was actually something else.
Yeah, so shout out again to Chris and Paolo. We now use Notion, which is a great tool that we have for different reasons. First of all, we use it for our own to-do list every day. So we have our little tickets, and every day, the night before, we go make tickets for the tomorrow. We organize it in the right order, and then we kind of mark them off as the day progresses. In addition, we have our own board for our team. So we have a team board and everyone has their own task assigned to them per client and due dates. So we use that as we talk to each of our teammates at our one-on-one meetings, and we go through their list and mark things off and add new things. We also use Notion for notes in general. So whether it's scripting this YouTube or talking to our clients and taking notes from there, we have our own client notes or our VA notes. We all have that as well. And then we did try using Notion as a CRM, a client relations manager for prospecting, but we realized that Notion couldn't really handle the way our CRM is set up. So we're still on Google Sheets, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, Notion would just like freeze and freak out because I think we had too many lines. So we ended up switching it over, and that leads us kind of into what we use now to communicate. So now we have our tasks. How do we get them out to everybody and to ourselves? That's basically through Slack. We have begrudgingly chosen the free plan because it's a little bit expensive, but we found it to be the best way to communicate with our team and help, figure out what's going on across the team in general. From there, sometimes we'll use text. That's mainly what we use with our clients, but we try not to use it with our team because not everyone has iMessage. And a new thing that we've been using that's been really helpful is Loom. It's basically this video software where you can take videos of your screen, of yourself, and we use those a ton for explaining things to the team that you might not want to put in text. So that's really how we're communicating, and it seems to be a good trio.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be remiss to not mention the G Suite. While we were scripting this video, we realized that there are a lot of Google products that we use for our company being remote. I'll talk about some of them and then Kayla will talk about the others. But first and foremost is Gmail. That's what we chose for our email platform. And in the beginning, we had to warm up that email, as I think we mentioned in a previous video, so check that out. So our business emails with Gmail, we also have a calendar on Gmail. So it's super convenient because before I had a work email, we had our personal emails, and it's all over the place. So now we kind of converge on just using our business calendar. and that's where we schedule, we connect our things like Calendly. So we actually use that as well as we give out that link to future clients or other people of the team. They use Calendly to connect to our Gmail or our Google Calendar. And then of course we invested a little bit in, is it Google One, I think?
Yeah, Google One.
So before that, it was just the free version, but with Google One, we're able to spend a few more bucks a month, but that gets us more kind of cloud storage. But more importantly, we have the recording capability on Google Meets. And that's been very helpful because at the end of a sales meeting or end of the week, we will review our recordings of the sales meetings. And that's a good learning experience where we kind of just analyze how we were talking, what our clients are saying or potential clients are saying, how can we improve. So that was a really, really good kind of upgrade to our G Suite. And then also, of course, most of our files are stored on Google Drive. So shout out to Dom, who kind of keeps us all organized. A lot of different products between the different teams. And so we have to keep all of that organized in one location. So Google Drive.
Yeah, that one has been really helpful. And again, we couldn't have done it without one of our VAs. She really has just organized everything. So that's been a huge help. Besides those though, we do use other Google products. One of our services is actually Google Ads. So, I mean, that's one of our lifelines at this point. It's a huge benefit to us. But on top of that, we're using Sheets almost every single day for our prospecting and our cold calls, things like that, and just kind of other stuff here and there. Voice. Google Voice has been a game changer for us. We used to dial every single freaking cold call number and into our phones, and it took forever because, you know, we're making 100 calls, but with Google Voice, all you have to do is copy and paste it, and then hit enter, and boom, there you go. And it's kind of nice because it gives us some separation from our personal phones. But besides that, slides and docs are another kind of tool that we've been utilizing more so in the last few months. Slides has been really helpful for like client presentations, for us to see what the team's doing with updates, and then docs, of course. If you just need to write a note down or put something in a document, I can't think of a better one to use for us being in the G Suite. So yeah, that's mainly what we're using.
After Google, we of course have an area of websites. So after we established our email, I think the next thing we did was our website. We mentioned this again on a previous video. And our first website was on Squarespace. So we used that, and we actually Kayla mostly made another client's website on Squarespace.
Yeah.
But you know, it's nice, it's easy, more convenient, easy drag and drop functions. But overall for like SEO or just kind of functionality, we ended up moving to WordPress. And so we actually also build most of our clients' websites through WordPress and pay extra for things like Elementor and Astra, because Elementor is very useful to make the websites in a more convenient way. And then Astra has really great templates that we can just pull from, which makes the building experience much more convenient. And then one thing we had to choose from is where we would host the websites. So we elected to go with A2 hosting. So that's where most of our stuff, or that's where all of our websites are located. And then along the ideal of kind of presence online, we have, of course, our YouTube channel. And so along with our YouTube producer, shout out Sabai, thank you very much, you and your team. We use tools like Google Trends, kind of understanding what topics are trending at the moment and how we can use that in making these videos. And also it's very useful when we have things like InVideo,
yes,
which we'll talk more about in the next section.
Super helpful. So yeah, going into the next session, obviously social media is a big part of our business as well. So we have a few different tools that we use for that. Of course, we have like the standard Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, that kind of thing. But besides using those tools, we also use things like Buffer, which is a way you can schedule your content out. It's a lot easier to use than having to drag and drop every single new piece of content into each app. And then the other thing that we're using a lot is Canva. So I'm sure most of you have heard of Canva. It's like an easier version of Photoshop, essentially. And we use that a lot, not only for social media graphics, but just for company-wide graphics. And like you said, in video, this is a more newly added tool, but it's been really, really helpful with like creating video ads for Instagram and Facebook, because it's just so much quicker to use. It's a little buggy though sometimes, but we're getting through it. And then basically after that, another thing that we're using is email and text blast. So that's another thing we do for our clients, of course. And we have tried a lot of different email and text blast systems. Some are great, some are less than great, but we've kind of figured out that Klaviyo is the best tool for what we need it for. It's a super simple interface, and it's just the easiest we found to send email and text blasts overall.
Yeah. So. And something we look for in email or text blasts is that you can send emojis.
Yes.
And photos or like graphics and stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Ironically, most text platforms don't really have that functionality. So anyway.
We'll see.
All right, and then the last category of tools we have are finances.
Woo.
Yeah. So when we started, of course, when you have a business, you need a payment processor, and we started with Stripe, but I forget the reason why we didn't like it. I think it was subscriptions weren't easy to process.
Yeah, it was just like the interface. I think was really just tricky for us to start with.
So anyway, we tried that for like a week, and we kind of gave up on the user interface and quickly moved to Square, which is what we've been using for the past few months, and that has gone relatively smoothly. Still trying to figure out the whole charges with using credit card and things like that, but it's been going well so far. I've done my personal finances for decades on Excel and Google Sheets, but things are getting more complicated with the business, so I caved in, and we are now using QuickBooks, and it's been a great learning experience because Kayla gets to manage our business finances, and I get to do kind of other business finances, and so QuickBooks, highly recommend. We're using the self-employed version.
Yes, that was pretty easy to use too.
And then one last final shout out, we're kind of experimenting with this with our kind of blogs and our channels, but Shopify. So we spent a little time trying to build out a store there, and maybe in the future we will do a video on our store and the products that we're selling.
Yeah, so that's basically all the tools that have made the cut after, trying all these different things. And in our next video, what we're gonna talk about more is how we use the tools and the systems actually to stay organized. But before that, drop a comment. What's your favorite productivity tool? Did we miss a tool that maybe we should use? Let us know, we'd love to hear it.
And we upload weekly, so don't forget to like,
subscribe,
and hit that bell notification,
ding,
and follow us on our journey.
Yep.
Peace. Summary of the week. How did it go? How do you feel?
Well, it's been a week. It went fairly fast, and I'm pretty excited because I have personally hit a record for sales call bookings. I've basically booked a sales meeting every day.
Every day, except today.
Hopefully I can get one today,
exactly.
But it's been good, I would say. How about you?
Same. I think it was a good revelation because 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were thinking to ourselves, man, we're going through all this work, right? Basically calling 300 to 500 people in the week and getting no results. And I think this week last week and this week actually. So last week we were getting more sales meetings, more bookings, and this week really came up. And I think it's like the law of numbers, right? Where things tend to come in waves. So maybe 3 weeks ago we were just in a lull. Yeah. And now we're coming up, and so we gotta ride the wave. Yeah. I think Alex said something like, what does he say? Like when you're winning, go harder or something like that. Like that's not the time to stop.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
yeah. I'm also very proud because we're tracking our time and we track how much hours we work. And for the past few weeks, we were doing 6 to 6.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
And now this week we are on track for 7 hours a day. So
we're getting there.
I think, I'm feeling good. I like this week so far.
Yeah, me too.
So we're gonna keep going.
So far, hopefully it doesn't play any games on us, but I think it'll be good, and I'm excited for next week what it will hold. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Go team go.
Go team go.
Maybe we can do our.
Oh yeah. Do our handshake.
Little handshake. I don't know if you guys can see it behind the mic.
See you next week.